First question, can you tell me one thing you do to have the best year ever?
Absolutely. Easy one. Every interaction, every person I encounter, I try and be positive with. Whether it's a positive comment about them, whether it's a positive comment about the day, how I feel. And that lifts not only me up, but it lifts everybody up around me. And it's really changed how I live on a daily basis. And that's my plan of the best year ever by being inspiring and inspiring everyone I'm around by positivity and just good naturedness and friendliness.
I absolutely love that because I am obviously a leader of Team Good Vibes, and that is why you're coming on this show. Welcome to Best Year Ever, a podcast designed to inspire growth and impact so you can have your best year ever. And I'm your host, Rob Cressy. And joining me today is Paul Faust, an oh so special guest. I am so excited to be jamming with you. He is my accountability coach for the Big Ass Calendar Club. Paul, great to have you on the show.
What is up, my friend? I am so excited to be on the show with you. You and I have these awesome conversations all the time. I've told you on every conversation that I'm inspired just being on calls with you. And yes, technically I'm your coach in the program because you were assigned to me, but I really feel like we coach each other. All of our calls are inspiring. You ask me about me, I ask you about you. And it's hard to get off a call with you because of your personality. You're just infectious with the way you inspire. So I look forward to our calls because I know that I'm going to leave more fired up to push myself a little bit more. We're open and honest. So I love our friendship. I love that we get to have these calls all the time, man. It's made me a better person, 100%.
And talking with you has made me a better person. Being a part of the Big Ass Calendar Club has made me a better person. And what we're going to jam about today is the mindset around making this the best year ever. And Paul, you started off by talking about one thing you do to make this the best year ever is positivity. So we might as well start there because for me, one of the biggest game changers of my life when I started my entrepreneurial journey, I audited the success habits of the most successful people. And what I realized is negativity was not going to serve me. It was not going to get me to where I wanted to go any faster. Therefore, it no longer had any place in my life. And then the inverse was also true. If that's the case, then I want nothing but positivity because that's what's going to get me to where I want to go. But Rob, it's not really that easy. Actually, it is when you're binary about this, where you're not a negative person because we know that the world is full of negativity. If you can be someone who shines your light of positivity on others, guess what? Great things are going to happen. So let's start with that.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you. And it wasn't very difficult. It was just a little switch in my head that says, look for goodness. Even in business, when someone says no or doesn't do what you want them to do, it's little things. It's someone cutting you off in a car. And I used to get mad and aggressive. And I'm like, wait a minute, maybe they're going somewhere important. I just assume the positive now. I don't assume the negative anymore. And when I started doing that, and it really helped when I started practicing gratitude, when the last thing I do before I go to bed and the first thing I do when I wake up is practice gratitude. I think about things I'm grateful for. You start to rewire yourself to think better. So now look, let's be honest. I catch myself having negative thoughts. I catch myself being angry at people. But the difference is I catch myself now and I say, stop. Why are you assuming that? Think of the good stuff. Think of the positivity. And you know what? People react to me better, both clients, people I bump into the street. I was walking in Deerfield Beach last night and there was a guy cleaning the fishing tables on the dock. And as I walked by him, 99.9% of people ignore that gentleman. I walked by him and said, dude, those tables look clean as, I could eat off them. And the guy said to me, dude, I really appreciate that. So how hard was that? Cost me nothing. But you know what? I felt just as good as he did. So it's sort of the rest of my walk. I just had this glow. I'm like, I just said something nice that cost me no money, took me no time. It was impactful on me and him. And I think we could all focus on it more.
So let's get to how to actually do this, because I love everything that you're saying, and I certainly live that as well. And the one word that I would bring up is intentional. You need to be intentional about this. So you can say, all right, Rob and Paul, I want to live the life of positivity. All right, well, how can you be more intentional about it? And number one for me is positive inputs. Good in, good out. So what are the things that you're feeding yourself with? And I've mentioned this numerous times over the years. I've never watched the news ever in my entire life. Why? Because it does not serve me. If anything, it's going to take me away from where I want to go. Instead, I'm feeding it with inspirational and leadership and creative books and podcasts. And it's why I'm part of the Big Ass Calendar Club, and why you and I, Paul, right now are having this conversation, because I want to be around other like-minded people and inputs that are going to inspire me to greatness, who are going to make me a better person, who are going to help me learn so that I can then, one, implement it myself, but two, share that with the world. And it's one of the amazing things about the Big Ass Calendar Club, because it's both a lifestyle and a mindset and a way of living and being, and it's manifesting itself in the conversation you and I are having, in the way that the examples are when you go and talk to the guy who's cleaning the table. When you have that happen once, when you give that guy some love and he shows you love back, all of a sudden now you see the world with endless opportunities to be the one to drip that positivity for someone else. So now the intentionality that you bring is you're walking not with your head down and your head in your phone, but instead your eyes are up, you've got a smile on your face, and you're looking around you, and you have this element of gratitude to what you're doing, and you're saying, you know what? I have this gift that I can give someone else, and let me recognize them for what they're doing. And then a crazy thing happens. When you show them love, they will show you love back.
Not only will they show me love back, they'll show other people love back. How do you know that that person you're interacting with, I mean, let's go to the extreme, wasn't contemplating suicide that morning, wasn't contemplating, going on drug. Who knows what their life was like? Maybe they're a veteran that's got PTSD, and you don't know that one positive comment they might have said to themselves, I am worthy. I'm worth living. I'm a good person. So the first rule is surround yourself with positive. What does that mean? It means you're right. It means seek out the inspirational speakers. Look at the quotes that matter. Cut out the negative people in your life. 2020 was a year of trimming for me. And before that, when I started with BYLR and the Big Ass Calendar Club, it was, I've got all these people. I don't want to be around negative. I don't want to be around angry. Now, there's some of those people that I've helped, and I've got them to really see the world differently, but there's some people that are just angry, sarcastic, they're always negative. I trim that out of my life. So I walk around in sort of happiness, both in the people I'm around, the community that you and I are part of with Big Ass Calendar Club. It's a collection of people trying to be better, do better, act better, think better. That can't not have an impact on you. And I know that, and I've said this before in shows I've been on, I don't believe I can change the world by myself. I can change one person. I could change two people. I could change the people that I immediately connect with, and they can go out and change others. And that's how I change the world. I don't look at the big picture. I look at the groups I'm around, the people I encounter, whether it be last night talking to the waiter in the restaurant and making a comment about his tattoo, which he was clearly proud of. He went on a 5-minute talk about how each one represents a family member and what they mean to him. Like, as opposed to just saying, could I get more water? Like, he's a human, he's a person, he's got stories. So I think it's just, look, the world has set us up to find our differences: race, color, religion, political. The guy on that pier or that waiter could have been on the absolute opposite aisle of the political spectrum on any issue. We didn't look for that. We looked for commonality, that we're two humans trying to live our best lives, trying to educate our families, put food on the table. And if we focus on the stuff that we agree on and that's normal, we don't have time for the differences. We don't have time for the fighting. And I agree with you. I think the media, because it sells, finds our differences and highlights them. And I just don't enjoy it.
One thing that I'm also going to add from an intentionality standpoint is the importance of a morning routine and or boot sequence. So I think about my positivity like you would starting up a computer. Every single morning, I have a series of declarations that I read that describe who and what I am, and it's self-love and vision. And the very first thing that I read is, I am full of love. And then there's a heart emoji. And I sit there and I visualize what it means so I can feel it. I'm not just zooming through. And this is actually something I've learned in the last 2 months, where I went from having affirmations to declarations. I'm not just affirming that I am, I'm declaring I am. I am full of love. And then I sit there and I be with it so that I can feel it. So now that it's inside of me, and I have a series of other things like, I am abundantly generous. I'm the happiest person on earth, shining my light on everyone. And then the last one is, I am infinite self-love. And I think about, we need to love ourselves so that we can give that to others, because you've got to do it first, because part of positivity is controlling your own negative self-talk and being aware of your self-talk, because so often we don't intentionally try and be a negative person, but then there's those subconscious things that you don't realize from what you're watching or consuming on social or listening to, that all of a sudden have these automatic negative responses pop up where you're like, hey, what in the world is that? And then negativity spreads 5 times faster than positivity does. So now you can start to see a snowball effect of one little thing happens, and then you get home and you're a little snippy to your husband or wife or boyfriend or girlfriend, and all of a sudden you're like, man, how in the world did this get away from me? Well, if you start every single day by, boom, what is my boot sequence for how I'm going to boot up the positivity of who I am? So what I would recommend is sit there and set a timer for 15 minutes or 30 minutes and write down some declarations of the person you are, the best version of yourself, and do so in the mindset around positivity. And think about how that makes you feel. And then every morning, as part of who you are, go and read that and feel that. And then go and hit up Paul and I and tell us what the positive effect is of that, because I've done that for 8.5 straight years, and that's how I got to where I am right now.
Yeah, well, it's interesting what you said over and over again, the boot sequence. And we carry the world's greatest supercomputer on our shoulders. Our brain is a supercomputer. And if you program it the right way for positivity, for goodness, it will give you those outputs. But if you allow it just to take random inputs from the news, from social, from negative people, it's going to affect you. And it's not just positivity. I train martial arts. When I'm in class and I'm hitting the bag and I'm working, I literally am saying out loud, I don't get tired. I don't get tired. I'm a machine. My body responds. And you know what? People look at me because I'm saying it out loud. I'm not just thinking it, because there's power in spoken word versus thought. And I say to myself, I don't get tired. It's amazing. And you know what? Those inputs to me change the outputs that my brain gives me. But I also, by the way, like you said, feel that positiveness and feel what it does for you. And you know what? Also feel the negativeness. When you go negative, when you have negative thoughts or emotions, feel it. Is that something you enjoy the feeling of? Is that something that you want to carry around? I don't, because it leads to stress. It leads to negative interactions with my family, my child, my friends. So I want to feel both. And to be honest with everybody, look, this is not perfect. You are going to have negative thoughts. You're going to have self-doubt. Feel it and say, do I want to carry this with me? Do I want this to be more part of my life, or do I like the positive energy and the feeling of goodness? And you will find more of it. So when I'm negative, or I recognize, okay, brain, what are you telling me? I don't like the way this feels. I want a different thought, brain. Thank you very much for that thought. I want something different, because we are not what we think, okay? No more than I'm not my blood flow. I'm not my urine. My brain is a tool, and it's programmed to do something. And I'll say, thanks so much. I'd like a different thought now, please. I appreciate you for doing your job of trying to protect me. I want a different thought now. I want to feel different. and I don't accept that thought. So I feel both emotions, and that's how I've learned which one I want more of, and which one I want less of.
And what we're really doing, which is how I frame this, is we are shrinking the amount of time these negative thoughts or negative energy or negative feelings stay with us, because we all experience, myself and you as well, Paul, the loop in our head where you're like, man, I just can't get something out of my head. It's an experience where you can even feel it in your body. And the way that we work through this is maybe that it only lasts in you and I for 2 or 3 hours, as opposed to some people, it might be days, weeks, or a month. And these can be for some of the biggest things. And what we've done is trained ourselves on the process for step 1, recognition. You're like, oh, I'm feeling this thing. Step 2, forgiveness. It's like, hey, why am I doing this? I don't need to feel this. You know what, Rob? Don't judge yourself for feeling this. And then step 3, what is the replacement emotion or action that we are going to do? And sometimes you might need to do a bunch of different actions. So often changing your environment, you go for a walk, boom, you've got new inputs, new triggers. But that's how I think about it. And then Paul, with you talking about I never get tired, it made me chuckle, because on my wrist right now, it says, I never get tired. And this is so perfect, because this was sent to me randomly by someone in the Big Ass Calendar Club community. And there was 2 of these and a handwritten postcard. And I haven't gotten to the point yet to respond back, because I was actually traveling, got a bunch of mail, and I saw this. But let's use this as a springboard to talk about the lifestyle, the lifestyle of the Big Ass Calendar Club and the mindset around it, because it is the most amazing thing that someone I do not know, who's just part of this community, says, you know what? There are fundamentals and mantras that we live by. One of them being, I never get tired. And I'm going to send 1, a handwritten postcard, 2, some rubber bracelets for you to wear, because I am that force of good for you and everybody else in the community. And you know what this really speaks to? The entire philosophy of everything, which is what we're going to jam about. Live by design, not by default. The Big Ass Calendar Club, the name of this podcast, Best Year Ever. Why did I join the Best Year? Why did I join the Big Ass Calendar Club? Among other things, to have the best year ever. 2020, best year of my life. 2021, going to be the best year of my life. 2022, going to be the best year of my life, because it's a mindset and it's all around designing the life that you want. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it absolutely started for me. Like, I've had a great life. I live a lot of the things I want to do. But when I found originally Built Your Life Resume, the BYLR, and then morphed into the Big Ass Calendar Club, it gave me a whole set of tools and a process and a group of humans I could talk to that understood, that didn't think like, he's drinking some kind of Kool-Aid. It's not about Kool-Aid. It's about living my life by design, planning my life and not letting it plan me, changing the thought patterns in my head on what I was capable of, what my limits were, what my powers were. We were talking about negativity. In the old days, stress would come to me, negative thoughts, and I was trying to duck and hide. I don't want to feel that and know that, and it would stay with me for hours or days. Through the Big Ass Calendar Club and Build Your Life Resume, I realized that I have control. Okay, what is this negative thought? Paul, why are you thinking that? That's just bad programming. You've thought wrong. So this has given me a set of tools to rethink how I think. Like some of the things we talk about, like all of my limitations are self-imposed. And I can prove it on everything I hold dear. I used to run, and my fighting run was 3 miles. I had the thing on and I would track it. And as I got to 2, I was like, damn, this is hard. 2.5, 3 miles. Then it was a fight. And all of a sudden, by changing what I said to myself, by changing how I talk, by changing what I told myself, I ran a half marathon in less than 30 days. as just no different shoes, no magic pills or blood, whatever. I just changed the story I told Paul Faust about what I was capable of. And as we also talk about, well, if I went from fighting through 3 miles to running over 13 miles, where else am I limiting myself? In my business, in my relationships, in every part of my life. I've decided through this group to take the governor off, to allow myself to live more fully and not be afraid of failure. Pushing myself to, okay, I failed on that one. Great. I still grew in a lot of ways.
I absolutely love it. And once again, we are being intentional about the things that we want to do, the things that we want to learn, the action that we're taking. And this is in so many different areas of our life. And this is actually a non-business conversation. And of course, there is benefits that bleed into the business side of things. But what we're really talking about is scheduling our life, the things that we want to do before we do the minutia of life and business and Zoom meetings and TPS reports and all of that different stuff. So finding time to do the things that you say, oh, if I only had time, because I think the excuse of time is the number one excuse I hear across the board for everything. Why I do not have a fitness routine or I'm in better shape, why I don't launch a podcast or create a YouTube video series, why I don't go on dates, why I don't play basketball or do whatever. We always say, if I only had more time. Well, guess what? You're not going to open the door tomorrow and be like, holy crap, Paul, you will not believe this. I found 2 hours of time in my closet right here that I just didn't know was there. That does not exist. So you even mentioned this at the top. One of the things that you did last year of trimming, the term that I like to use is pruning. What you need to do is if you want more good things in your life, the things that you want to do, one, choose what they are. And then number two, if you say, well, I need to find some time for this. All right, what are the things that do not serve you as much as that you might want to get rid of? And the simplest analogy that I always give is maybe you're just not going to be watching as much Netflix as everybody. So when people get to the, hey, what are the shows that you're watching conversation? Guess who's not really contributing to that? Me. Because I look at Netflix and it's like, yeah, I might get like a show every now and then, but I like to do a lot of things. I like to go golfing and hiking and playing with my dog and learning new things and creating new shows. And the action, there's always time. If you say that there is, it's why one of my declarations every morning is, I have more than enough time to get everything done. Imagine if you woke up every single day and believed that you always have enough time. Because Paul, just like you said about how we program ourselves, well, if you really think about it, time is just an abstract concept that really time is when you're born and then when you die. Everything else in between is completely up to you. We've got calendars, we've got clocks, we got watches. You could choose to not live that way. You could go and move to Africa and be like, I am no longer digital. I don't know what time of the day it is. I don't know what day it is. And then you would say, well, do you have time to read a book? Of course I do. I'm just going to do it whenever I want to do. And the Big Ass Calendar Club has essentially given us time to do more. It is the most beautiful thing in the world that you actually do more and you find the time to make it happen.
Because Rob, exactly what you said, it's intention. You and I and anyone else can start a consulting business where I'm your time coach. You tell me you don't have enough time. Let me spend 4 hours or 24 hours in your life, and I will show you where you have hours a day that you don't think are wasted, but they're wasted on nonsense. You're on a conversation for an hour that could have taken 10 minutes. Just for this, you go to the gym and 30 minutes is water cooler talk with people. You flip on those shows. So it's not time that's messing you up, it's excuses. And it's also not time, it's fear. So it's easier to not do something because then you can't fail at it. Or maybe you can't be successful at it. You're afraid of the success and not the fear. So when you sit down and like the Big Ass Calendar Club taught all of us, and I map out what are things that have to get done today that are not movable. I need to go to that doctor tomorrow. It's not movable. What do I want to get done? What just brings me joy? And when I mapped it out, I didn't wake up and winged it. I made sure, and by the way, let's be also very clear. I watch Netflix. Okay. I'll sit in the backyard and do nothing. Like I'm not saying that every minute has to be scheduled. Hey, at 9:15, I'm making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. But I took out the stuff that was a time suck that I was doing just on routine, even though it offered me no value. I don't even really like it. I watch show, I'm like, I don't really like the show. Well, why did I just spend 45 minutes binge watching it? So I become more intentional about my time. I schedule in nothing time, like just time to do whatever you want, Paul. Make things up, run some errands. But I think it's becoming more intentional, pruning or trimming out the wasted stuff. And you will, and also really, really, really important, anybody watch this, it's balance. I'm going to tell you that if you spend 20 hours a day focusing on your business and making money, you are not going to do as well as if you spent 10 hours focusing on it, 2 hours focusing on your personal mindset, 2 hours focusing on things that you just enjoy. You will find yourself better in business because you're going to be happier. You're going to have more energy when you're doing your business. Clients and people around you will sense it and they will want to be around you. Now that doesn't mean that you might not have a week or a couple of days where you got to grind. We all have it. But build in all buckets of your life, in all facets, and you will see that everything will rise because you're just going to be a naturally more well-rounded, happier person. And I've lived that life.
Yeah, I like the terms holistic. So what we're talking about is all areas of your life, because I think one of the challenges that stops people from having the best year ever is exactly what you just said, is they're doing so much of one bucket and not of others. And on my end, I certainly understand what you're saying around the balance side of things. I don't believe in balance. Balance isn't a term in my life, because I prefer design or intentionality or architecture in terms of how I'm thinking about the things, because I'm designing what I want. And by design, I'm not going to design 20 hours of just business. And a lot of people would ask, how can I be more balanced? And I don't think that that's the right question. I would say, how can I be more intentional about doing the things that I love?
Yeah, and I also think that, a lot of people, like I am an amazingly happy person most of the time. People look at my life and they're like, wow, I want to live like you live. I'm like, you can. Like, I know that I could focus more of my attention on pure work. And you know what? I'd probably make a few more bucks, but I don't care. I have all of my fridge is filled. I got a roof over my head. My wife, my daughter, I have clothes on. We take a trip every now and again, but I don't need to chase the biggest bucket of money, because you know what? If my daughter walks in here and finishes her school and says, I have a half hour, 45-minute break, do you want to grab lunch? The answer is yes. If my wife comes home at 3:00 and says, let's take a walk, the answer is yes. Now, there are sometimes I say, I cannot, I have a scheduled call, it's important, the client comes first, whatever, but I live in all areas. I take walks, I play with my kids, I take breaks, I go to the gym. And you know what? My business is growing and more opportunities are coming to me because people see the way I'm living and they want to be around it. And so, like, I want to be around that guy. I want to work with that guy. I want him in my life. And you know what? That's more important to me than, okay, maybe I don't have the nicest car on the block. Who cares? My car gets me point A to point B safely. So I think when we focus, think about what's important. And if what important to you is, dying with the most toys, all right, then I think you're missing the boat. As a quote that you've heard, I've heard, I've never seen a U-Haul following a hearse. You're not taking it with you. Nobody cares. So I found, I use the term balance. Maybe you're right. I need to shift up what that word is, but I'm focused on success. To me isn't dollars. Success to me is living a life of intention, of goodness, of charity, of experience, of learning. And quite frankly, I don't think I was doing that before I found Build Your Life Resume and the Big Ass Calendar Club. I think I was going about life the way I thought it should be done. But now I have a whole tool book and a guide to make me think about it differently. And I credit that to Jesse, Jesse Itzler, for founding the program, and all of the amazing people in the community who, guide me, give me information, motivate me on a daily basis.
And we will sort of get out on this, and it sort of goes full circle to what we talked about at the beginning in terms of positivity in designing that into your life, because you're right. Your vibe attracts your tribe. So when we look at the people who are part of the Big Ass Calendar Club, who are sending people stuff, who are jumping on podcasts together, who are complimenting random people, who are wiping down tables, that is your being. In what I've learned, certainly through a coaching program I recently did. You can actually listen to that podcast with John Patrick Morgan that I did around being a client magnet, and your way of being is what attracts people to you, because it is actually the ultimate differentiator. Because once again, when we look at the rest of the world and how the world operates, the negativity, the noise, the excuses, the scarcity mindset, the always keeping up with the Joneses, it becomes refreshing when you find someone or a group of people who all of a sudden are selfless, who are there with a smile on their face, who are just there to be a positive force for good in the world. And then a crazy thing happens. Once again, we're not talking about business, but guess what happens? Things start to attract, and you're like, how is this happening? It's because of your way of being, your way of experiencing the world, your way of walking around in, like, if people could get a visual of what's inside my actual body right now, it's a bunch of floating smiley faces, because when I'm doing my meditation in the morning, and one of them was around a gratitude or a happiness meditation on the Peloton app. And it's like, I want you to visualize the feeling of what it's like to be happy. And inside of me is just all these little smiley faces just going all the way around. And then you look at, like, well, what's the type of person that you would want to do business with? You know what the answer is for me? Paul Faust, Jesse Itzler, the people who are part of this community, that I want to be around other like-minded people, because nothing would make me happier than to give to you, Paul, or to give to others. And then all of a sudden we're all going to win, because that's how you win.
It's how you win at life. And look, I want to caution people who are listening. When you start living this way, thinking this way, acting this way, you're going to get some pushback from your inner circle. You know what? Because some of them, they're afraid or they're not confident enough. Fight through that. Keep doing it. Keep being you. Don't listen to the naysayers. Don't listen to the people who want to knock you down because they're afraid of taking the step, or they're just uncomfortable and they're not willing to be open about it. And I can tell you, this is God's honest truth. And I'll even say her name. I got involved in the Build Your Life resume originally, and I started noticing micro changes in me, around me, the people around me. But you don't see all the changes when they're, every hour, every minute, every day. And then I went to a conference after about 6 months of being in the program, and I had been sort of participating at a level of a 6 or a 7, not a 10. I was skeptical and I was participating, but I wasn't all in. And I went to this conference, and a friend of mine named Jenny from the industry came over to me and said, Paul, something's different about you. I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, I don't know. It feels like you're aging backwards. She goes, I've just seen you at this conference. I've seen you, I've watched you interact, and you're just different. You seem like you're aging backwards. You're just happier, and you have a different attitude. And 2 other people said something to me at that conference. And when I heard that, it was nice to get the positive affirmation, because it's like losing weight. I see myself without my clothes on every day. You don't notice it. It's the micro changes. I saw someone after 6 months who said, you are a different person. And that's when I knew that I had invested in the right community, the right lessons, the right mindset, the right people. And then I threw myself all in, because not only was I kind of living better, but everyone around me was noticing that, literally I was aging backwards. I was happier, more energetic, and guess what? They wanted to be around it. And when they want to be around it, what better life is that? Winning, it was crazy. And I can remember it like yesterday that she said, you're aging backwards.
I absolutely love that. That resonates so much with me. If you have not listened to it, go back on this podcast feed and search for my experience doing Andy Frisella's 75 Hard program. And then I completed the entire Live Hard program. And you know the feedback that I was getting, Paul? Rob, you are glowing. There is something different about you. And you hear that unsolicited 1, 2, 3, 10 times, all of a sudden you're like, something's going on here. And side note, one thing that I learned, which is an absolute game changer, I use Evernote to keep track of notes. I write down everything. When someone gives me a compliment like you received, Paul, I have a compliment file. So I will go in and I will write down the compliment and who it was from. So it'd be like, Paul, there's something different about you. It feels like you're aging backwards. Jenny. And then as part of my morning routine, I go in there and a couple times a week, I read the compliment file. And what this actually allows you to do is, one, you're going to be more present and recognize that compliment, because so often you'd be like, Rob, you're amazing. You're such a happy guy. And I'm like, oh, thanks, Paul. And you just sort of brush it off because we don't want to let the ego get stroked there. But what you really need to do is be a good receiver. And it's actually a challenge for a lot of people, that the best gift that I can give you when you give me a compliment is to say, you know what, Paul, I received that. Thank you so very much. But wait, there's more. We're not just done there. So that compliment doesn't have to end there. You then can write that down, boom, put it in your compliment file. Now you can give yourself little micro doses of that compliment whenever you want. And that's how you design the positivity into your life. And then the last thing, Paul, you mentioned around the people who don't understand, who aren't going to get it when you start to become this life. And you said the people in your inner circle, you know, it popped into my head. There's only one person that you need to care about, and that's yourself. And for me, I'm very binary when I think about my positivity and my lifestyle and the way that I design my life and I think about it. It's all on me. Complete self-awareness in every single area of my life. I don't have to push this on you. What we're sharing here is a possibility. This is our experience. This is how we are doing things. You can take the nugget or two that you like from it. Boom, try it out, see if it works for you. But Paul and I are an example of the 10 out of 10. When you go all in on this lifestyle, in this mindset, in a way of living, it really is the greatest gift you will get in the world. And we're not judgmental on anyone who doesn't think this way, because that's not how we get down. That's the negativity side of things. No, we're not like this. We're just being positive force for good for others. And I don't expect everybody else to understand, but that's okay, because I'm going to keep doing what I do. I'm going to keep doing compliments. I know who I am. And once again, that is why I read, I am infinite self-love, because you don't have to worry about anybody else.
I love it. And you taught me that on one of our calls. And I think about that stuff every day. And I am living proof across fitness, business, my relationship with my wife, my friends, that it works. It's not voodoo. It just works when you live a different way. And look, let's go back to that compliment. I've been sharing that compliment that Jenny gave me, and that was 3 years ago. So now imagine if that one sentence by someone randomly had that impact on me, that I talk about it all the time. I say to myself, Paul, you could have that impact on every single person you meet. It didn't cost her $1. She wasn't trying to get business. She wasn't trying to sell me something. She just said something genuine to me that burned a hole in my heart. And I said to myself, I could do that all day, every day, for no dollars, and you know what? It makes me feel as good. So you know what? Take the nuggets you want, but I promise everybody listening, whether it's Build Your Life resume, whether it's a big ass calendar club or something else that you find, you're going to go through that hardship, that this is interesting. Okay, I'm out of my comfort zone a little bit. You will change the way you live your life across all areas, and you will attract so many different things to your life. Look, I attracted Rob to my life. Makes my life better. 90% of the time we talk, it's not about business. We talk about how we're living, what's motivating us, what's cranking, how we can crank the world better. I want to do that all day, every day with people. I don't want to talk. Rob and I have never had to talk about what we disagree with. I don't know Rob's political views. I don't know, every one of his favorite teams or what state he likes better. Because I don't care about I just care about how we can elevate our lives and everyone around us. And I think if you invest a little bit of your time to try it, to start, you will find the life benefits. And I keep saying to people, man, I wish I found this in my 20s. But you know what? I wasn't ready. I found it when I was willing to accept it and when I was open to it. And I was, and I found it when I found it. And you know what? People say, I'm 51. This is not a midlife crisis. I am in a midlife renaissance. Man, I'm just getting started. I'm so excited for what's around the corner because I have this new me that I'm traveling around with.
Absolutely love this, Paul. So what I want to do is leave with an action item or takeaway for everyone who's listening or watching right now. And I'll get this party started. And it's actually going to yes and something that you said around the gift that we can give others with compliments. One of my declarations is, I am that a conversation with me is a gift. And the reason I say that is for exactly what you said, because the gift that I can give others is positivity. I can channel energy. I can give compliments. And you know what else I can do? I can see things in others and declare things in others that they may not see themselves. So I might say, you know what, Paul, you are a tremendous leader. I love the energy that you're bringing. You're going to be so successful this week because I can feel it in you. And all of a sudden, you're going to sit back and be like, whoa, Rob, thanks a lot for that. So my action item is to give at least one person a compliment today or this week. See something in them and say it to them and then see what happens. Paul, what is your action item or takeaway from this episode?
All right, so one action item, because I think it's really important, and this will take you very little time. Tonight, before you go to bed, take out a little piece of paper, not big, 3 to 5 minutes. And today is Friday, right? Are we on Friday already?
Yeah.
So maybe you want to do this tomorrow. You want to do it Sunday. Let's do it Sunday night. Sunday night, take 5 minutes and write down how you're going to do your Monday. And I don't mean plan every second of Monday. I mean, put down the important things that you have to get done. Put down a few things that you just enjoy doing. So if you like taking a walk or meditating for 5 minutes, put down Monday. I'm going to wake up with my gratitude or my meditation. I'm going to get a walk in. I have to call this person. When you see that it takes you 3 to 5 minutes on a Sunday to plan the next day, as opposed to waking up and saying, I'll figure it out, you're going to see that you could do this on a daily, weekly basis, and you're going to get so much more accomplished to get rid of that I don't have time, because you're going to take out all the time wasted just sitting around. So that'd be my one tip is one day, just for 3 to 5 minutes before you go to bed, plan out a little bit of the next day of what you want to accomplish and leave room for you in there.
Paul, absolutely love that action item. Where can everybody connect with you?
People can email me if they ever want to talk, paul@ringboost.com. If they want to see my company, it's ringboost.com, but they can reach me at my email. They can call me at 914-316-5226, which is my direct line that I've had forever. Or if they want my more memorable one, it's 914-200-0013, because 13 is my lucky number. You can find me on Facebook. If you're part of the Big Ass Calendar Club or Build Your Life Resume, you can find me in the groups. Please reach out. We could talk about anything. It has nothing to do with business. Just let's connect. Let's inspire. Let's learn about each other. And I love connecting. So please, I encourage everyone who listens to reach out. I will make the time to connect with you.
And Paul is one of my favorite people in the world. He is a leader. He is someone who lives it, does it. He's an amazing person. He is someone you want in your network. So definitely reach out to Paul. And I also have to make sure to thank Jesse Itzler for all he's done in both my life and your life, Paul, from creating BYLR, Build Your Life Resume, creating the Big Ass Calendar Club, creating 30 Days of Excellence. if you want to live this lifestyle, then just dig a little bit deeper in Jesse's world. He will inspire you to no end and make you a better version of yourself. And as a call to action on my end, if you're someone who wants to fulfill your potential and live happier and a more intentional life, and you'd like some support in making that happen, what I would like to do is invite you to be in a conversation with me to see how we can make that happen for you. You can hit me up on social media at Rob Cressy, Instagram, Twitter, or LinkedIn. Slide into my DMs or email me, rob@baconsports.com.
Thank you so much for having me on. Yes, I want to give a shout out to Jesse. He was the inspiration and the guide that has changed my life. The community has taken that role as well. So thank you so much for having me on. You know, I love these chats. I wish we could do this every day because I feel better already. So I appreciate you being in my life. And I encourage each and every one of you, reach out to Rob. I promise you will leave the conversation better than you started. I give you my word. Trust me on that.